Anyway, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mark Stanley, who's going to go through the Things Network in Reading. Thanks, Mark. Cheers.
Thanks very much, Simon. Hi, everybody. My name's Mark Stanley, and yes, I'm going to talk about something called the Things Network Reading. You may have seen me before. I was here, well, not here, the other venue a year ago, talking about beer. I'm hoping to approach this talk with the same sort of enthusiastic amateurism that the last one was approached with. I have to say, my experience of the Internet of Things is light, but it's accelerating at quite a pace. Does anyone here know about the Internet of Things? Does anyone not know? Everybody knows. Brilliant. Great. I'm probably the least educated person in the room. So anyway, the Internet of Things, it's, well, here is a thing. And on the screen you can see we've got sensors. That one is a light sensor. This is a lot lighter here than I was expecting, but hopefully the demo will still work. And on the left-hand side is the XB little wireless devices. Has anyone played with these? No. Right, okay. So I've had the fun of playing with these for the last little while. I can show you a quick demo of what I've managed. Now, please be gentle. This is all of about 3 days of playing, so hopefully things will go okay. Right. So what you can see on the screen is how light or dark it is according to this device. And I've got a little sensor here in the corner, which is very much like the one in the photo earlier. And you can see it goes light and dark depending on how close I get to it. Now that's nice. That's writing to the, or it's communicating from this little XB thing here to one over there on my laptop. I've got a program written in something called processing, which I discovered yesterday. And the way I've set this up is if I get this bright enough, hopefully it will work. I'm not sure if it, yeah. So it whites out. That's not terrifically exciting for you, I suppose, but for me that's really good news, because what it's actually done or would do, were there an internet here, is it would send a tweet then to Reading Geek saying that it's too bright in here. So there you go. That's the demo bit over. Thank you very much. Back to the presentation. Right, okay, so a Things network consists of end devices like you've just seen. Here's one, normally packaged a bit neater. Then gateways, which we'll talk about in a bit, connecting then back through to a network server and then to your application. So in our case, Twitter somewhere. The gateways and the end devices are really the subject of this talk. So network servers, I guess, is a server, and the application side of things is kind of up to you. So what I wanted to do with these, the sort of, when I started playing, I thought, right, I've got a van. I can't park it on my road, so I can't use this Zigbee thing because it's only got a 100-meter range. But what I wanted was to create some sort of burglar alarm in it. So there's a fundamental problem, because these are great around the house. I think they're great if you work in an office or a warehouse or factory, but they're not so good if you have to park half a mile away because every other bugger's nicked your space while you're at work. So there are different kinds of technologies around. Zigbee and WAN are the sort of easily accessible ones. There's one called LoRaWAN, which I'll talk about quite a bit more in this talk. The really exciting thing about that, I think, is that the range of it is up to 15 kilometres. I think that's probably in real life not very practical, but it's probably quite a bit less than that. The other good thing about it is it's very low power. Why that's important is because the batteries can then last years, literally years, between changes, which I think if you were going to put devices in lots of places, then the upkeep of those is going to be a right pain in the neck if you've got to change it every couple of days. You've also got GSM, of course, which has a huge advantage in the coverage, which is pretty much everywhere. Not so good in Burfield, it turns out, but it's kind of coverage is everywhere, and the problem you've got with it is the cost, because you have to pay Vodafone or EE or whoever to transmit data on it. The other problem with it is the battery life, because although Zigbees do drain the battery, a GSM device attached to it really drains the battery, as you'd know from your own mobile phones that you probably charge every night. So when I was looking for something to do really at the end of my contract, which finished just over a week ago, the Internet of Things was one of the things. And I remembered, I don't know how long ago it was, and I can't see Simon because I'm slightly dazzled, but Oxford Flood Network came and gave a talk. And there were these guys talking about devices that they'd made in little Vero boxes that someone had then bravely attached underneath a bridge using Velcro. And I thought that was a fantastic thing. The thing that struck a chord with me was that they've got like 40 or 50 of these devices scattered around Oxford. Sorry, I'm assuming you know this. Anyone not know this? Right, okay. Oxford Flood Network. So it's a citizen-powered initiative, I guess. They've built these devices. There's a company with a terrible pun in its name called Love Hertz, HZ for the Hertz bit. But other than that, great idea. And they've built these devices and attached them underneath the bridges all around Oxford, and it measures the distance between the bridge, which is a fixed point, and the water, which is a variable level. And it reports back. And so it gives early warning of floods and general water levels. The thing I loved about this was that they have got so much more information than the Environment Agency, which is meant to prevent floods, that the Environment Agency needs to borrow this data. And I just thought that was brilliant. So that was inspiring. I didn't fancy clambering underneath the bridge to change a battery. I also seem to remember that they had to have the gateway device, like the receiving end of this thing, in close proximity to the thing. So it suits a static operation if you know that the person living around the corner can attach it to can have the gateway in their house, but it doesn't suit any sort of mobile operation, like my problem with where do I park my van and make sure it's safe. So inspiration number 2, this is much more up to date, something called Clean Space. Anyone come across this? One person, well done. Did you buy a tag? No. So Clean Space is an air pollution monitor that pairs up with your mobile phone. It uses Bluetooth to pair with your phone. What it does is it measures the air pollution wherever you are, and it's paired up with an app on your phone, so the app tracks where you are using the GSM bit of the phone. And then you can see throughout the day where you've been, where it's been good or bad pollution. The idea is that as a community, you get a much better granularity map of air pollution in the UK or whatever country you're in. The really exciting bit for me about this was this technology called FreeVolt. So it harvests energy from the radio waves and trickle charges a battery in that device. So the battery never runs dry. So the actual life expectancy of the device is 3 years, but that's because the sensor wears out after 3 years, not because the battery wears out. And I thought that was really quite exciting. And I looked into the 3-volt thing, and they're talking about having arrays of 3-volt devices, pretty much like solar panel arrays, except you can have them on the inside of buildings rather than the outside of buildings. And the idea of that, I thought, was quite exciting. I mean, it sounds like magic, and I don't know to what extent it will really scale, but I thought it was a really good idea. The third thing, and this was the thing that sort of has kind of prompted this talk, is a collective in Amsterdam called the Things Network. It is a bunch of people, like we're a bunch of people. They crowdsourced a LoRaWAN network. Now, if I go back, that's the middle one in here. So the range for a LoRaWAN network is, well, as I say, 15 kilometers. You can imagine if you were, overshot. If you were setting up gateways for a Zigbee thing, which has a 100-meter range, then covering Amsterdam would be a problem. But covering Amsterdam with something that has a much bigger range, as you can see, they say 10. I've counted this. This is from their website. There's 12 here. So I'm not quite sure whether 2 were late entrances. The other exciting thing about this, so this is a network across the whole of Amsterdam, which is sort of 3 or 4 times the size of Reading, and it cost them 12,000 euros to do that. So I was thinking, wow, that's not expensive for, I don't know, the likes of Microsoft, or even, the likes of us, really, to get a network across the whole of a town. That's not too bad. That's what it looks like in Amsterdam. It does cover the full area. So things about that are great. It's community-led again, which I think is good. I think the last point on here is the low-cost bit, but that makes it available to community groups. We could build devices, we could connect to this network, and we could tit around with it. We could build little apps on the end and actually see whether these things work. And that might be fun. We know it's got long range. The low power thing is really important, but I think it's the we could do this bit that really matters. The Things Network people themselves, these are real life examples now. Now, bear in mind it's Amsterdam, right? So boats are a thing, bikes are a thing. The boat problem is quite interesting. I thought it would be flooding, but it's sort of flooding from rain rather than flooding from water up. So rain falls into the boats sink. You can have a device in your boat that sends you an SMS before it sinks, so that you've got time to go round with a bucket and bail it out. The bike thing, I can only imagine. Anyone who's been to Amsterdam, there are a lot of bikes, and if you can't remember where you left your bike, you might have a problem. So you can attach a device to your bike, and your mobile phone will tell you where that is. And if some stone Brit turns up and, for giggles, runs off with your bike, you can find out where they dumped it, and you can go and get it back. And I think that's brilliant. There are industrial uses as well. So the Port of Amsterdam itself has sensors all over the place, uses the Things Network to connect them up to applications. So it manages the Port of Amsterdam with it. And then something called QuickSense is that measures the environment within an office, so whether it's air conditioning or humidity or whatever. And it allows them to adjust it remotely. I don't know. We could do this in Reading. That's what I thought. I thought we could do this in Reading, and Reading is smaller than Amsterdam. And I like the idea that it's long range, that it's low power, but I really like the idea that it's free to use, because that does make it available to schools, Reading University, and us. Free-ish, obviously. I mean, the good thing is we're not paying Vodafone, because we're the network providers. And it will be free to use. But there is a cost to setting it up. That cost is not so bad. So this thing here, this is about, it's about 30 quid's worth of stuff. The little bee thing, Mike, I think they're about 20 quid, is that right? The XB things.
The radio,
Yeah.
the module itself was 10, so
Oh, is it? Right, okay.
then you just need to add
Some stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to just buy the chip, I could find them for 9 quid for their end device. If you want to buy a professionally made one, they're sort of 20 to 30 quid. The gateways themselves are the things that make the network. So you can make one for 200 quid. You can buy one today for 400 quid. But the Things network in Amsterdam is just, it's in the middle. Anyone who's on Facebook and friends of Reading Geek might have seen this. They are running a Kickstarter. They're oversubscribed. They've already hit their target. But they're going to start selling gateway devices for €200 each. The bad news is they're not available till July. The good news is you can make one with a Raspberry Pi and a Multitech card. Although just before I started this talk, Mike was telling me that he's already bought some stuff for much less than that. So that's going to be really interesting to see whether we can do it cheaper. If you wanted to buy one, they're 400 quid, and that will cover, you know, a decent area. So why not? Why don't we do it? I think I worked it out, 2.5 grand to cover the whole of Reading. It should be a no-brainer. I mean, the return on investment, if you wanted to make it a commercial thing, it would make sense, surely, within very short time. But just for a fun thing for everyone to do, sort of makes sense to me. So I don't have this gateway yet. That's coming. This isn't a 15-kilometre span. I've picked 5 kilometres for each of these circles. So I took some liberties with these next few slides. So I apologise in advance, particularly to Mike, who's stood opposite me. But were the makerspace in Reading to invest in one of these things? Sorry? You can go top right. Oh, brilliant. It's like you read the script. We could get the university or Simon. And pretty soon we could have, I mean, you could go top right. Microsoft could go top right. Pretty soon we'd have the Things Network Reading that would just cover the whole area. And to me, that seems fantastic. The other thing that I like about this is Andrew Lindsay, who way back at the beginning of this was talking about the Oxford Flood Network. He has set up the Things Network Thatcham. No one is doing it in Maidenhead. No one is doing it in Slough. The next thing going east from us is London. But you can see that this could all connect up. And, you know, I don't need to just park my van in my local area. It could track wherever it is across the M4. So I like that. I think it's exciting. It's what I want to do. My question really for you is are you up for it? Is that something you want to do? And do you want to join in? So a few things are happening. I am going to Amsterdam in a couple of weeks. It's a tough life. I can't promise it will be a sober occasion, but I am going to go and visit the Things Network people and some breweries that I've been told about in Amsterdam. So I'm looking forward to that. Felix sadly can't be with me. There you go. Install a gateway. Any of us can do that, or use the one that I'm going to get. We can all build Connect devices. I think it's, that's really what I wanted to talk about is, are you up for this? If you are, I've set up a community page, the Things Network Reading. Please sign up there. Don't feel you have to sign up there. Please come and talk to me. It would be good to actually make this thing happen. I think it's something like the Amsterdam thing happened in 6 weeks. I don't see any reason why we can't start 2016 with an Internet of Things network that's available to everyone in Reading. There you go, that's the talk. Thank you. Any questions? The bandwidth? I have no idea.
Basically, it's 868 megahertz signal, so it's as much bandwidth as about 11 packets. Basically, the limit it's designed to send small packets regularly rather than lots of data. So, to conserve battery, you'd probably send just maybe 26 bytes of data, maybe once a minute or something like that. And then your battery will last you maybe a year on the device with a PON cell. But that's each individual device. On the main one, it is passing those packets on to the cloud. So its only job is to receive data and pass it on. So, yeah, obviously the gateway has to have enough memory for the number of devices that are currently active. Then again, there is redundancy in that if the packet isn't acknowledged, it will be sent again after a number of seconds of sleep time, so that each individual device will manage its own power, rather than, so it's not about sending web pages about, it's about sending temperature information, or my car is still intact or not intact.
I think that's an important point, is that the network is for sending data. It is low volume data, so it isn't there to send web pages around. It is from sensors. It is a data network.
Also, I think one of the big things is that one of the points of the Things Network is actually to establish protocols that are effective, as opposed to what could potentially be done. And part of the whole point of having the radio in the first place is to work out what the need is, and then how to satisfy that demand. This may only satisfy a range of demands, as opposed to every demand. But then we've got Wi-Fi, so we don't, if people are having to do bigger things, then maybe they connect less regularly but send more stuff. So the goal of the Things Network, as I see it, is to be sending lots of small data regularly.
Oh, we'll get there. Right. Yes, I think you're right, Mike. The LoRaWAN network, which is what we're talking about here, is it's sort of spec'd for the smart city idea rather than a home or a factory or some kind of global thing. That's its sort of sweet spot, I guess, and it is low data transfer, but it's so yes, it's not video streaming. That's really it, but it works very well for the connected device idea. Hello.
Regulations?
Sorry?
Regulations?
No, still didn't get it.
Regulations? Would anyone
Regulations. It's the bandwidth is not a license. You don't need a license for it. It's free to use. There is the LoRa Alliance, which is the sort of they're becoming the certifying body. So that's something that exists. It is, I guess, of the three types of network here, it's the weak spot is that it's a new standard, so it will evolve.
Yeah, so GSM, for instance, I mean, this is approved by Ofcom or something like this, or just because it's a normal GSM device, it's not going to be any different from any other mobile device. And the LoRa one, I guess, has to be regulated. I mean, you're saying there is a regulating body.
It uses an unregulated frequency
Okay.
set, and it's frequency hopping, so that it avoids interference by sending. It uses 868, but it uses the range of channels within that band. So it's normally 868, but I think within that there's something like about 200 or 300 channels, and the frequency hop between them is outside.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I was thinking about the internet being completely broken the other day, and listening to what you were saying, I was thinking, what you have an opportunity now, perhaps, to make something that's not completely broken, that doesn't give away privacy left, right, and centre, and maybe has security designed from the ground up, or do you feel that's too great a challenge?
The LoRaWAN protocol does support data encryption. So AES encryption is part of the stack. So it's there. I don't know, in a community sort of project, I'm not sure what value there is in encrypting all that, but certainly you would need to separate, different applications from one another. So there will be some way of segregating. What?
It's also the case, though, that most of the chips that are actually sending the data are now hardware able to encrypt the data, so it will then be decrypted at the other end. The LoRa network, or the Things network, is only a transport mechanism. So just as you're getting on a bus, you can load up on people. If they can't read what you've got until the other end, they don't know anything about transporting it.
Yeah.
We were at a presentation for a new set of low-power chips for the Nordic network, Nordic Semiconductor at Majestic last week, and they have the security side already on the silicon. So, and that's at the sensor level, not at the Wi-Fi or the gateway level.
Any other questions?
So I would just ask how many people would want to be signing up and have any interest in joining up and helping.
Thank you very much. Anyone want to come to Amsterdam?
That would be a bad idea.
I think it would be a very good idea.
Well, I have experience in it.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.